All right, so now we're getting a little more complicated here, right? Not too much, but if we think about what we're seeing from this view, how would you describe that? And we'll call this the front. C shape, right? You're going to see these edges right here. Right? Does everybody agree with that? Everybody feel good about that? All right. And what about if I look at it from here? We'll call this the right side. See rectangles. How many rectangles? Yeah, so there's one rectangle here, another rectangle there, and another one right here. And they're all stacked on top of each other. And in the second rectangle, there's what? A hole, right? A circle. What's that? The 0.6 and the 0.4. So that's locating and positioning the hole. That's where we're going to put the hole in the right view that we'll see that. And then if I look down at this from the top, what am I going to see? If I look down from this way, I see like this one rectangle here, right? And I'll see, a little bit of that sticking out back over here, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So let's start with this front view. And this may get kind of wonky because all these other parts have been metric. And I notice this one's inches. So this may be like super microscopic tiny. We may have to zoom way in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's just pick on the picture and right click and pick actually let's go over here to on your home ribbon, you got this clipboard area. Let's pick copy with base point. And just pick in the middle of it. And what that is it put that picture on the Windows clipboard. And if we go to the big red A here and we pick new, let's pick the inch template. Yeah. We'll pick paste, drop it in there. So back on this original that we started with, I just left click on the picture, put a crossing window so I can see that the picture selected with the grips around the edges. And over here on the far right end of your home ribbon, you see this clipboard panel. On the copy area here, I use the copy with base point, which just means I'm picking a place to carry it around by. So when I pick this copy with base point, AutoCAD says, well, where do you want the base point? I just pick somewhere in the middle of the picture. Nothing happened, but that's okay. What happened is AutoCAD put that picture on the Windows clipboard. And now you want to go to the big red A, pick new, inch template. And then in the inch drawing, you're going to go back to that clipboard panel and pick paste and just left click where you want to drop that picture down. It doesn't matter where you put it, just drop it in there anywhere. So what we did is we took it out of that millimeter template and put it into an inch one. So now it's not going to be microscopic. All right, hang on. Yeah, paste. Just the regular one. There you go. Good deal. So we just took that picture out of that millimeter template, and that was not wise of me to put that one in that one. Anyway, we're going to draw this C shape. Probably my game plan would be I'm going to just kind of start right here and go this way, up, over, down, back, down, over, close. And if you find it easier for you to go a different approach, by all means, you can do that. But I'm just going to point my mouse and put the distances in, still kind of small. Oh, it's really small still. I'll show you what I'll do to deal with that. It's not that the part's so small, it's that the picture is really big. And it bothers me. Does it bother y'all? Yeah, and that's what I'm going to do. So just kind of drag the opposite corners, make the picture really small. That's what's really happening. This picture is really big. And you can just keep doing that till you're happy with it. They didn't stay around long to take many pictures, did they? So, scared them off. So yeah, you may want to do a little moving, a little scooting, a little scaling to help you see them both, because it is kind of silly. Parker's putting his hole in it already. And that's fine. You can certainly do it that way. I'm going to do a little different. It's going to end up the same though, so you're good. The don't scale your drawing, because remember, we always want a drawing. We want to scale the picture. Make the picture really small. Yeah, don't scale your drawing. Just grab the corner and just make it smaller. You want to move it. Just grab one of the corners and just drag it to where you want it to go. Make it smaller. There you go. And then move it over there close to where your drawing's at. You're going to be about right there. So now we're going to carry on and think about this front view. One thing that you could do that you might find easier is to just create the whole body that encompasses everything. Because we know those lines are going to go there. So we can track off this bottom corner, and I can go straight up all the way to the top. And then I have to use the 1.2 dimension for the depth. And then all the way back to the bottom. So I just kind of make this, that's the outside edges. And I see all those edges, they're real. And then to get those corners in, I just track off the corners and they go straight across. So to me, that was easier than trying to do all the math and create individual rectangles. Now I've got that front view fairly quickly whipped into shape. So when I place holes, I'll show you this little tip and trick that helps me put the holes in the right spot. Give everybody a second. Some of you got holes already in there. And your holes are probably okay and probably right. But I wanted everybody to see that this hole is 0.6 over from the corner and 0.4 up. So the easiest way, in my opinion, to do this is to use a polyline as a construction line. And I use a polyline because it's easier to erase and get out of there. So I'm going to use the polyline. And I'm going to start it right here on this endpoint right here. And I'm going to go straight to the right, the 0.6. I'm going to go straight up the 0.4. And then I'm just going to press enter to stop my polyline. And on the end point of that line is where the circle belongs, the 0.38 diameter circle. And that's where I'm going to put that circle. So on that end point, use the diameter option 0.38. And the reason I use the polyline is because I can just pick this one segment and notice how it's all connected. It's easy to erase out of there to get it out. You don't want to leave it in there. It was a tool to help me get that circle in the right spot.
So if I'd have done line, I'd have had two to erase.
Yes, and sometimes it's hard to get that one laying on top of the other line. That's exactly right. You can use a line. This is just my advice to make it a little bit more efficient to get that out quicker and easier. So I delete that polyline. But that's a neat little tip to help you locate and position your holes. So I'm going to go ahead, and in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just create a top view. So just like before, I'm going to create the overall bounding rectangle. So I'm going to track off this corner. And, I'm going to go up again, the 1.2, and then over to the extreme edge of the ball, the front view. So I get the bounding box, if you will. And then I project that edge back up into there. I'll give everybody a second to get there now. And I see some of you are figuring out the hidden lines. That's fantastic. But this completes the object lines or the visible lines that we have for this part. And I'll give everybody a second to get there. And then we'll start talking about how I recommend that you put your hidden lines in.
And so, like, over here, we would not want to complete that box because that's basically going to put two lines on top. So, right. So we would just go to the corners and then stop.
Oh, you're talking about?
So, like, right here, like when we do this, you've got that rectangle, and then you draw this third rectangle out here, but we don't want to put another line here.
Right, just one.
I think we'll have put two lines on that.
Lines, this lines on top of lines is generally bad news. Now, I know we left that little piece of line under the center line before, but that's a little different scenario. Often you can't have breakfast if you don't bring that food. Hey, you thought you know what I brought it.
Was a vibe, yeah.
All right, so if we look at what we have here, I think we are completely finished with the object lines or the visible lines that we can see. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
So now we really, and this is kind of the workflow that works for me. I generally will do the object lines and then I'll come back and add the hidden lines. That's just a workflow that works for me, and I'll kind of show you the systematic way that I do that maybe minimizes missing some hidden lines, because it does happen. And that, that's one of the common things as we start doing this, is there's some hidden lines missing, or maybe there's too many, or maybe they're starting and stopping at the wrong spot. So I can see some of that happening out there right now. But what you want to do is develop some systematic approach. And when I say that, there's some things that, that you want to work into that fundamentals. Every edge has to be represented in every view. So what I like to do is to start on one side and move in, say, the X direction from the front view, and make sure when I come across an edge that it's represented in both the other views. And then I'll finish all the way in the X, and then I'll come back and I'll do the Y, and then I'll do the Z. Okay, so I'm going to start over here on this as my starting spot, and I'm going to systematically move this way in this front view and make sure that every edge that I have is represented in the top view and in the right side view. So starting here, I've got this line and this line, everything's good. Moving to the right, I've got this line. Okay, there's nothing in the top view that represents that line. over here in the right side view, we still have this same line as representing that. But in the top view, there's nothing there. I'm going to go ahead and switch my layer to the HID. And that way, whatever I create is going to be on that layer and have that line type. And that is a corner that runs all the way from the front face to the rear face. So I'm going to draw the line tracking off that edge from the front face all the way to the rear face. And then I continue on that same direction. The next edge I come to is this line. All right, it's in that view with that edge. And we're still talking about this face over here. So nothing much happening there. And then if I continue on, the next edge I come to is here, which is represented there. It's still there. So from the left, you know, I'm going to call this the X. I'm good. I've got all my headlines in the X. Now I'm going to come up in the Y. So again, I'm going to start at this and work my way up. So the first corner I come to is this line, right? I look to the right. I've got that. Okay. And then, you know, maybe I could use this view instead to start with. Doesn't matter. I go up. So the next thing I come to is this circle, right? If I go over to the front, there's nothing for that circle there. So that tells me I have to create line. Now this hole is only in this spot right here, right? So I'm going to come across here with tracking off that quadrant straight across. And I like to have the holes already in the other views so that it's easier to track off those quadrants rather than trying to figure out where those edges are at on your own. Now I need to get that in the top view. And we could do the math and figure it out. Or there's another graphic way that I can show you how that works too. There's what's called a 45-degree miter line. Okay, and I'm just going to, whether you want to do this or not, you can if you want to. I'm just going to draw some construction lines, you know, and just kind of close that off to a corner. And I'm going to put a big line up here on a 45-degree angle. This is a neat tool that'll get you out of jam. This part is not really that complicated or that hard, but this 45-degree miter line will get you out of a jam. It'll help you project things from one view to the other. So I'm going to come straight up off this corner. And then from that intersection, I'm going to come straight over. Now, what you have to do in order to make and everybody go ahead and do this. This is a good exercise. And I know you may already have your holes in your views and you can figure it out. I see most people has already got them all in there. And I know you can figure it out based on what I'm seeing. But go ahead and play my little reindeer games. So the things that we want to do is we want to make this a full box here. And then we want a long 45-degree line up this way. And then we're going to come straight up past that 45-degree line and then straight over from where those two meet. It should. Justin's pointing out, hey, it should be right on that line. I'm going to have to move the view a little bit. We're all probably going to have to wiggle our views a little bit. But I wanted everybody to get to this spot before I did that. And it's okay if yours comes up way above it. So just put that line across there and we're gonna deal with it. Everybody's going to be a little bit different because we didn't put them in any particular place. Just go across there, all the way across there. Don't be stingy with your construction lines. They're free. You don't have to pay extra.
So where did you get construction?
So I just switched my layer up here to the construction layer. And they're not special lines. I can just turn them off. And instead of erasing them when I get done, I can just turn them off. That's the reason I use a different layer.
Yeah.
And if you didn't put them in that layer, it's fine. You can pick on them and change it, or you can leave them in the regular layer. I just kind of wanted everybody to play along to know this trick.
Man, I could see if you were getting pretty intense on the design, having that.
Yeah. There's some things that you really have to do this way. And it was not setting well with Justin that wasn't lined up, and he's exactly right. what I've got to do, and you may have to go up or down, but I've got to get this edge of my top view on this line. So I've got to move mine up a little bit. You may have to move yours down, but I'm going to just pick the move command and I'm going to put a window around my entire top view. And I want to be very careful that I move it straight up so it still stays lined up. So what I'm going to do is to advance the command to pick the base point. I'm going to pick this corner, and that should probably be the same corner that you picked. So that's my base point. I'm carrying it around and I'm going to drop it back on that intersection right there. So now it's perfectly lined up. If you want to not be struggle with that line sticking up there, you can trim them. So now everything will project up and over and directly line up. Got it moving.
Why were you, when you created this line and you went over to that? Right. Did I wrong like this? Okay, here's what I just made that line up and just shot it over.
Yeah. So a couple of things wrong here. You don't have the extent here, so your 45-degree line is the wrong spot. So you have to make this corner of the extreme extent first, and then 45. So now you can take and project those quadrants of that circle straight up your 45-degree line, straight over to the right spot. So those of you that got it in there, you can see you got it in the right spot, right? It should line up perfectly. So I'm going to project, and all this stuff should line up. So project straight up to the intersection, straight over, straight up, straight over. Everything should line up perfectly. If it doesn't, something's wrong.
So because on mine, because I have that gap, I need to break mine down.
Yeah, you'll have to move your view to get on that line wherever it's at. Yeah, use that corner and actually get it on that line. Be sure you move it straight up so it stays lined up. Everything should still be lined up this way. You know, and you can even put these construction lines in here to help you with that. I see a lot of people when they first get started putting all these construction lines in, and then of course everything goes straight across. Everything lines up. That's how we play the game. A little overkill with construction lines, but trying to get the point across. Everything is perfectly lined up. So now I just come back with the little hidden lines in there and put where the hole, you know, those hidden lines represent the edges of the hole. So a hole creates a cylinder, and a cylinder has edges. So I believe we have everything, don't we? But this little construction line, and then turn your construction lines off. If you use that construction layer, you can just hit the little light bulb and they just go right off out of your way. They're still there in case you want to use them later, but so to finish this, what do we lack? And we haven't, you know, we really haven't talked, I hadn't taught you this today, but we have talked about it today. We're missing a couple of things. Or one thing, a couple of places. What have we been putting in the other ones? The center lines, right? So I'm going to switch to my center line layer. And I don't know, I always like to go in and drop this center mark in my holes first. And you want to get in the habit of that workflow. Put your center marks in your holes, particularly before we start dimensioning, because you're going to dimension to those center marks instead of the center points. So get those in early on. And then for the lines, you can just kind of track over off that one for this one. Just kind of, as long as it's extending about 1/8 of an inch, I'm not going to get too worked up. Now, this is the exact same hole in the front view as it is in the top view. So a neat trick that you can do is just copy the center line, use one of the endpoints of your hidden lines, and drop it in the other view. You know, you always want to be looking for those little tricks like that to save you some work. Another thing that does is it makes your center lines consistent, the same, which is nice and neat work whenever you have a consistency like that. And I know I did some of this fast, but that 45-degree miter line, just some takeaways about that is, and some common mistakes that I do see regularly is you have to put it on the extreme boundary. So it can't come off any other edge and work correctly. It has to be on that extreme limit in the X and Y there. But after that, everything lines up. Now, if you get this all done like that and you decide you need to move your view further apart, just move it straight. I don't care that the 40, now the 45-degree miter line won't line up. Oops. But your view is still perfectly aligned. Does that make sense? With the front view. I don't really care that this spacing here is not equal to this spacing here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. 45-degree miter line is a tool to help you develop the views, but it's not a binding rule that says that's where that view has to stay. Does that clear that up any? Definitely will help you create the views, but not handcuffing you to the view has to set right there. It has to stay lined up vertically with the front view, or horizontally with the right side view, but you can move it further apart to get room for your dimensions that we'll add in a little later along the way. Fun stuff. So this is what we're going to do a lot of. This is it. We'll see these 3D pictures very much like what we had here. We'll create these parts, these views. That's what we're going to do. Everybody can do it. I've seen you do it. I'm confident. And that's where I'm going to stop as far as discussion today. Use the rest of the day to finish up the projects for this week, or call it good, or GIS, or whatever y'all want to do. But I'm stopping right here. We will talk about this some more. We'll do some more of this next week. I think the exercises for next week are actually like drawing by hand. So that'll be fun.
Oh,
So bring a pencil. I'll have some pencils if you need it. All right, so I'm out of everybody's way. Y'all did good. Carry on, however you see fit.